is Bernie Sanders. I may have lost the election, and the millionaires and the billionaires are against me, but I need to comfort myself. So, like you, I'm listening to Same-Sex Dialogue with Kim Style and K-Town. What are you going to do?
Are you ready? Sit down, turn off the TV, and get ready to laugh your ass off, because it's time for the Same-Sex Dialogue Podcast, where you'll hear the most entertaining discussions about gay topics, current events, and news. Now, here are your hosts, K-Town and the super sexy fashionista, Kim Style.
It's Kim Style.
This is K-Town, and we're back for another episode.
Welcome back to Same-Sex Dialogue.
Yes, we're glad to have you back with us once again. We have a great show for you today. Those that do not know Peter Tatchell, he's an amazing guy. Every LGBTQ IA person should know who he is and how
he fights for our rights on a daily. That's what he does for
a living. Yeah. And so he has been very, very instrumental in the movement, and amazing show with him today. We're going to ask him questions about Caitlyn Jenner. We're going to ask him about Pulse, of course, just different things that have happened since we've had him on the show last, which I think it was it back in March, honey?
It's been 3 or 4 months. You know what I love about him? It's not just the LGBTQI community. It's human rights that he fights for.
Right. He fights for everyone.
Yeah, everybody has equal rights in his eyes, as it should be.
Yes. And you know what? He's also, taken the physical brunt of that pursuit, and being that he's been, hurt over it.
And been arrested like 300 times.
Yeah, in other countries. How scary is that, to be arrested in a different country? Or
right. Like Iran or Iraq.
He's been over there. Who has the cojones to go over there?
Boy, he sure does. He sure does.
He does. He's an amazing guy. That's coming up here shortly. First, we're going to talk about a little chitty chat.
A little gossip.
Yeah, a little gossip.
Chitty chat, a.k.a. gossip.
I've been saying that here lately.
Chitty chat.
You know what I've seen in the news? Mariah Carey. We love her.
Yeah.
And I liked her when she was with Nick. However, have you seen her new, fiance?
Money talks, baby. Money trumps looks.
Absolutely. Money definitely trumps looks.
She doesn't have her own.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. She has her own. What is it? I mean, it must be a true attraction to him.
She must love money. She must love money. That's all I can say. He's a multi-gazillionaire.
Yeah, he's actually a billionaire. He's a billionaire.
That is gazillion and billion is the same to us, honey.
She could burn hers, really, compared to his.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
He's that rich. Their twins, however, are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They are just, it seems like they still have a really good, tight relationship, which is great. He doesn't seem to be, I'm talking about her new guy. He doesn't seem to be threatened by, Nick Cannon's presence and being with the kids.
Yeah.
It's just good to see that they're not acting the fool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're putting the kids first, and I don't see the kids actually, or they haven't actually reported on them being affected in a negative way. So that's good to see.
Yeah, that is good. Well, that's how you and I are with and his other mommy. And
yes.
None of us are threatened. We realize that he has her in his life and he loves her, and just so happened I'm the storm that came in, and he's accepted me with open arms.
Well, when you came in, you effed up everything.
I stole his heart.
Yes, you did. You stole mine too, honey.
You stole mine. You stole mine more.
One thing I do want to talk about is your favorite show, which is Real Housewives of Orange County.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Vicki Galveston.
Yes, she's in the news.
Honey, she must be low on friends. Honestly.
What'd she do?
Well, one thing I cannot believe, honestly, is that whole deal with, Brooks wasn't real.
It was staged.
It was staged.
It was staged.
How that shit pisses me off.
You know what? The whole last season revolved around his fake illness, and honestly, it was boring. I almost gave up on him. And if they don't, redeem themselves this season very soon, I won't be watching them anymore. Except for I do have to see Tamara and see if she wins her fitness competition. I do have to stay tuned to see if she wins.
Well, the last time you said you were able to actually sit down and look at her, she looked like she wasn't walking very well in her high heels.
I want to give her some walking lessons in her high heels. She was doing kind of like a rooster across the stage in the preview. So I haven't actually seen the actual competition. Okay. So I can't wait, because I'm all into fitness and everything.
That's going to be interesting. You know what? But Vicki, it says, and I'm reading this, actually getting it from Perez Hilton. Not sure about his his stories are legit or not, but they're fun to read.
They are fun.
But she spent the better part of 2015 trying to cover up Brooks' cancer lie.
Exactly.
So she's been on an apology tour this time. So I know that's probably what are they starting to show that part of it where she's trying to apologize and tell everybody?
There are 2 or 3 episodes into the season, and they're already starting to confront her, which is this Monday night, which will be on the 18th, we'll be getting more into the she wants to place the blame, like people were trying to make Brooks look bad. No, Brooks, you make yourself look bad by lying about cancer.
I never liked him anyway. Liked him anyway. Not surprising that such a heinous lie came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But in your opinion, though, what was the reason behind it? What was the whole reason behind it?
Well, I think there are people that do fake illnesses, and it's nothing but to get attention. It's like there are mothers that do that with their kids, that actually tell people that their kids are sick, and there's a syndrome, and it's named, I can't remember the name.
Well,
of
they
it.
blamed Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Yolanda, for having that.
But she was truly sick.
She was sick.
Truly sick.
If they had sit down and educated themselves on Lyme disease and what it does to you, how it makes you so tired, things like that, she truly had it.
Yeah. So the people that do this really ruin it for the people that are really and same things. I know you're not watching this, but the Shaws of Sunset.
Oh man, I need to get caught up.
What's her name? Gigi?
Yes. What's wrong with her?
They're thinking that she faked an illness and she's really sick, having to go through chemo.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that. Is that on this season?
It's happening right now.
I need to see it.
I'm a couple of episodes
Shaw's
behind.
Is so good.
I know, my God. They're so well accessorized. Oh, my God, I love it. But true story, something kind of like that happened to an acquaintance of mine.
Yeah.
She faked an illness. She called it cancer of the brain, which... come to find out, and she did have to have treatment, but it wasn't cancer.
Okay.
It was like a sinus infection behind her eyeball.
That's totally different from cancer.
And all they had to do was go in like behind the eye and kind of suck that out, the infection out from behind her eye.
Right,
she told everybody she had cancer, had all these people raising money for her, including me. I was raising money for her. It was just...
Can't believe that, honey.
It was a catastrophe at the end. I mean, she was such a manipulator. And now when I look back on it, I think, oh my God, I was so sucked into all that.
People that do
it was
things
just
like,
one of her shenanigans that she does all her
right.
life.
People that do that, I swear, they deserve whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
They really do. But, I just wanted to talk about that. I know you love Real Housewives.
And I went
OC.
off on a tangent. Imagine that.
Do you think that they will ever, let me say this. Do you think that they will ever trust her? Oh, wait, this is good. All right. So when people do that, I don't care what the reason is. Mm-hmm. When you do things like that, mm-hmm. people will forever doubt your word.
Every time you're moving your lips.
Exactly. They will forever doubt you. I don't care what reason you tell them why you said that. They will never believe you again.
If you fake cancer and raise money, if you fake cancer, number one, but if you go as far as to raise money to pay mm-hmm. for your treatment,
right, people
will never believe anything that drops from your mouth.
Right.
Period.
Right. Some people never learn.
No.
Never learn. All right. So on another note, we're going to talk about Wendy Williams. I knew she did something. For one, Andrew, hello, Andrew. We love you. We love you. We love your post. When he posted this on Twitter, remember I showed you the GIF that he posted on Twitter? I cried.
Yes.
That was so funny. All right. So if you remember, Williams made a series of disheartening remarks about the need for HBCUs and the NAACP. Well, in a blistering critique, Martin schooled her about the nuances of race and implored her to stick to reporting gossip.
What?
Wait a minute.
What?
On Thursday, Martin, the host of News One Now, briefly summed up the nation's troubled past of slavery, segregation, and oppression of African Americans, leaving Williams with nothing to say except, I stand corrected.
Wendy Williams stood corrected?
She has a blatant disregard for truth and what NAACP has tried to do for blacks.
Okay.
I hope she was embarrassed. She needs it.
Well, you know how she justifies saying anything she says. She ends it with allegedly, meaning she has heard, quote unquote.
Right.
That's
without fact.
Yeah. So that covers her. That CYA covers her ass.
Yeah.
If she makes a statement and says allegedly, that just means she's heard that quote.
I wouldn't say things like that, honestly, unless it was, especially if it was hurtful to people.
Right.
Without it being based on fact. But she doesn't care.
Honey, it's about ratings. That's all it's about.
Yeah, that's all she cares about.
That is all it's about.
Absolutely. All right. So I think my baby has a wonderful Kim Queery.
Of course I do.
All right, here it goes.
Kim Style and K-Town. Oh, this is to the both of us.
Uh-oh.
Have either of you been to a strip club?
Uh-oh.
Oh, before I answer, I'd like to hear from K-Town.
No.
And I want to hear about your experience at the strip club, K-Town.
It don't have anything to do with
Spotlight's on you. Spotlight's on you.
It don't have anything to do with
Yes
me.
or no? Yes or no?
Have I ever been to one?
Yes.
Of course.
Oh, what do you mean, of course?
Yes,
yes,
I've been one.
And I'd like to be a fly on the wall when you're at a strip club.
Wait a minute, you talking about right now?
Uh-huh. No, later. We already talked about now. It's not happening. It's not happening. Especially the champagne room. But before me, BK, before Ken.
Oh, you were too much.
And did you go in Atlanta or Knoxville?
No, I went here in Knoxville. It wasn't that good. So I went with a group of people. Matter of fact, one of the girls that I went with worked for the FBI.
Oh, God.
She worked for the FBI. It was crazy.
What was she looking for?
It was a group of us, and she was, I was like, wow, okay. All right, so it wasn't that good.
Oh, really?
Yes, the females were not really pretty or anything to look at. A matter of fact, I don't even remember Tiffany.
Good answer.
I'm serious. I don't remember even tipping anybody, but I did go to a different one. It was right in the central part of Knoxville. It's probably still there. It's Mouse's Ear West. Mm-hmm. You remember they used to have Mouse's Ear East on Alcoa Highway?
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. I've never been there, but
do tell.
Mouse's Ear West. I've been to that one with some friends, and that one was pretty good. I mean, we had a good time.
Did you tip that day or night?
I think I did.
Yeah, she must have been pretty. How sweet.
Quit.
How sweet.
Quit, honey. You asked me, have you ever been
I
to a
didn't
strip
ask
club?
you. Let's see. What's her name? Alicia Taylor from Oroville, California asked you that. I didn't ask you that.
No. She asked both of us. I want to know. You tell me.
Yes, I've been to several.
You have?
Let me
Where?
put my smart glasses on again. So I have been to all of them here in Knoxville.
Oh, really? You just now telling me this.
Now let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. I've always been with whomever I was dating at the time.
Okay.
And here I am looking like a stripper myself. And I'm with my manly partner. The strippers always want to dance for me. And that is what was really surprising.
I bet.
But I would have thought they would have wanted to dance for my partner.
No, I would have encouraged them dancing for you.
They were always up on me, and there was this one lady, and I use that term loosely, that she came up to me, and she wasn't pretty at all, and she's kind of, trailer park-ish, I guess. But she would growl in my ear, like, oh, I was like, oh, I'm scared. You know how I'm scared of everything. But yeah, that's what I found interesting. And then we went to the carousel one time. There were exotic dancers there, all up on me. I'm like, save me. And
what?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Try to put their tatas in my face and shit. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't like those. Does that answer your question, Alicia? Yes, we have both been. And sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
Yeah.
End of query. Be you, be true, and be fabulous.
Awesome, baby. So if you guys want to send her a Kim query, we encourage you to do so. She answers all of those, and she has to answer them truthfully.
And that's at kimquery@gmail.com. KimQueery@gmail.com.
Awesome. I want to go ahead and encourage everyone. If you're not listening to this show right now on our website, please go over to our website and catch our shows there. They will be of the highest audio quality, and we will appreciate that. You can interact with us on Twitter. We love Twitter. And our Facebook page. Please go to our Facebook page. Just type in Same-Sex Dialogue. Will come right up. You can leave us a message. We always answer those. You can interact with us however you want to, and know about some of the wonderful articles that we post over there. And also, I'm going to be starting a new show called Mysterious Radio. Kim's already trying to tell me what to do.
Of course,
Kim's
that's my
already trying
job.
to tell me how to do it.
That's my wifey duties.
It's going to be a great show. I'm doing that with another host named Kel, and it's going to be good. And Kim will not be.
I will not, because
No.
I'm a scaredy cat. Don't be inviting any spirits up in here.
It's going to be great. So I'm getting that together. We will launch the first show and get that aired. All right, for our next guest, Peter Tatchell has been campaigning for human rights, democracy, LGBT freedom, and global justice since 1967. He is a member of the queer human rights group Outrage and the left wing of the Green Party. He has written 7 books and has made contributions to many others. Through the Peter Tatchell Foundation, he campaigns for human rights in Britain and internationally. Peter's key political inspirations are Mahatma Gandhi, Sylvia Pankhurst, Martin Luther King, and to some extent Malcolm X and Rosa Luxemburg. He has adapted many of his methods to his contemporary non-violent struggle for human rights and invented a few of his own.
Welcome, Mr. Peter Tatchell.
All right, Peter, so we want to thank you for being on our show. We know you're very, very busy. The last time we talked to you was a few months ago, right, babe?
Right, probably 3 or 4 months ago, actually.
Yeah, and we do appreciate that. That episode actually did really, really well. Mm-hmm. It was well received, and people talked about it. They really loved it. What have you been up to here lately?
Well, quite a lot. I'm a multifaceted campaigner.
Yes, I see that.
As well as doing my LGBT stuff, I'm also doing lots of other human rights issues. So just last week, we were involved with a big campaign to defend Christians against persecution in Pakistan. Uh-huh. It really annoys me the way in Western countries, or some Western countries, Christians claim that they're persecuted and discriminated against because they're being challenged over their homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia.
Right.
Well, that's quite clearly that's nonsense. But Christians are genuinely being persecuted in countries like Pakistan, where they are often framed on blasphemy charges and often have mobs attack their homes, churches, and meetings. So it's really a matter that I feel very strongly about because, of course, I oppose Christian homophobia, but equally I oppose the persecution of Christians or indeed people of other faiths. Right. We have to stand for the principle of universal human rights. Whatever others may do to us, we need to stand for that principle.
Totally agree with you. Peter, we recently saw on your Twitter page that you posted a link about Republican committee approves conversion therapy. Among those provisions to receive initial approval was an amendment to put forth a Family Research Council. Republicans endorse conversion therapy for children who identify as LGBT. Can you tell us, does it seem to you, you got all these things popping up, does it seem to you that since gay marriage has been passed, that politicians seem to be playing a kind of a tit-for-tat game in other ways to oppress the LGBTQ community?
Well, I certainly think it's true that we are in a phase in the United States and many other countries where the religious right, having lost so many battles against gay equality, they're in a sort of a corner, and they seem to be lashing out in ever more extreme ways.
Right.
So in many countries, we see what I'd call Christian extremists or fundamentalists increasingly sort of up the ante. They're also, of course, in many instances, having recognized they've been defeated in so many Western countries, they're increasingly looking at exporting their homophobia to developing countries, often with the inducement of cash. So in Jamaica, Uganda, and Nigeria, to name just 3 countries, the Christian right is redoubling their efforts, including pouring in money and activists to try and shore up homophobia in those societies.
Right.
With some pretty extreme measures, supporting new repressive laws that not only maintain or exacerbate the criminalization of same-sex relations, but also in many instances that also seek to repress LGBT organizations and advocates.
Yeah. Absolutely. And North Carolina seems to have started a chain reaction since passing the transgender bathroom bill, as many other states have wanted to pass something similar to it, actually. On the other hand, many businesses have made it clear that they won't do business in the states with such laws. Peter, do you think this move by big businesses will keep other states from seeking to do the same?
Well, I think it's undoubtedly a good thing that corporations are supporting LGBT rights.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you think corporations generally are ethical organizations, and I have some big problems with a lot of them because many of them use tax avoidance schemes, many of them have huge, gigantic payouts and bonuses for their senior management while paying employees very low wages. So I've got a really strong criticism of many of the practices of big corporations, but I do nevertheless think it's important and valuable that some of them are taking a stand in support of LGBT rights and making it very clear to certain states that if they continue to endorse discrimination against LGBT communities, those businesses will pull out. I think that's a very, very positive move.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Very strong statement, actually, yeah.
It is. And, being gay or lesbian or transgender, we all know it's not a disease, but it took a long time. But nearly all medical organizations now agree that queerness is not a sociopathic personality disturbance, as the American Psychiatric Association once maintained. In the first week of April, Mississippi passed a new law making it expressly legal for doctors, psychologists, and counselors to opt out of any procedure or choose not to take on any patient if doing so would compromise, their beliefs. And Tennessee has did something similar, which we could not believe that actually passed. Mm-hmm. Would it even be worth a member of the LGBTQ community, even be worth their time and effort to fight this, being that, if that therapist is conflicted with such beliefs, how will they benefit you anyway? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, totally. I mean, it is shocking that there still is a minority of counselors, therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists who somehow believe that same-sex affection and relations are some kind of abnormality or pathology. This is the thinking of the Dark Ages, and I'm really glad and appreciative that most of the mainstream psychiatric and psychological associations around the world now agree that this is fundamentally flawed. This is a non-scientific interpretation, and that moreover that attempts to cure people because of their sexual orientation or gender identity is an assault upon human rights. It doesn't work, and it's not medically ethical. That's a big step forward that we've got them to agree this.
Right. And you said ethical. Where would their oath come into play with this whole new law, Peter? Don't they take an oath?
It's about, condemning or marginalizing LGBT people in terms of medical and scientific understanding.
Okay. Okay.
And in fact, that's a bit of a misnomer because, of course, medically and scientifically, there is nothing wrong with being LGBT or T. But what they are doing, particularly by endorsing quack cure therapies and supporting legislation which currently in particular is targeted at trans people, that is an affront to human rights and an abuse of their medical ethical responsibility to provide care for people regardless of who they are. The basic medical oath and ethic is to care for people, to support people, to work for their welfare and well-being. And when individuals and organizations support so-called cure therapies, that is psychologically and emotionally very damaging, and it goes against all those basic ethical principles.
Right. Real quick, I have a client, and he is actually from England, and he thinks so much as we do. And he's a straight man married to a woman for 30 years, but he believes in human rights. And he said these therapists that refuse to show or actually give therapy to someone of a transgender or LGBTQ community should have to say above their door or in their sign somewhere, I am a bigot. Peter, how do we as a community fight the growing violence against the transgender community? Because it seems to be just getting out of control just from what I've seen. And I try not to watch the news actually personally, but is there anything we can do to help fight the violence?
Well, of course, trans people themselves are leading the fight for their rights against hate crime and discrimination. And the best thing we can do is to support them and their struggle. They know and understand best, so it's our duty to support them. And there are many, many trans organizations in the United States, Britain, and many other countries which are doing really great work. And they do need support because, they're doing a great job themselves, but to have an impact, they need others to step up to the mark. And I'm gratified that at last, most of the mainstream LGBT organizations are coming on side to support our trans brothers and sisters. In many respects, their fight is about 10 or 20 years behind the lesbian, gay, and bisexual fight.
Yeah.
And even bisexuals, they too are way behind in terms of recognition, acceptance, rights, and so on.
Absolutely.
So I think, the lesbian and gay community needs to defend our bisexual and trans brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Totally agree. Totally.
Yes, absolutely. And 73% of all anti-LGBTQ homicides victims were people of color. Why is that?
Well, of course, it's in large part the fact that we live in societies where, although great progress has been made on both LGBT rights and on black rights, still there is racism and homophobia in our society. And, we need to acknowledge the reality that we're not all equal. If you're poor and black, or poor or black, you are much more likely to suffer discrimination and violence than if you're white and rich. And that applies in straight society and LGBT society as well. Poor black women are at a very major structural disadvantage, not because of any inferiority, but because of the prejudices and often discriminations and hate crime that they suffer and endure. So we need to realize that in the LGBT community, we're not all equally adversely affected by homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia. There are differences based on race, gender, class, disability. There's a whole gamut of different divergences within our communities where different sections are unevenly affected by the prejudices that we face. And that's why it's really important that LGBT organizations and community groups make special efforts to highlight the special needs of or the special oppressions faced by LGBT African Americans, LGBT disabled people, LGBT women, LGBT people of low income and socially and economically disadvantaged communities. They have special, unique experiences which make it much harder for them. I don't want to sort of create a hierarchy of oppression or anything, but if you're a gay white man, college educated, in a professional managerial job, you're much less likely to experience the sharp end of anti-LGBT prejudice, discrimination, and hate crime, compared to an LGBT African American person from a low-income background.
Right. Totally agree on that.
Absolutely.
Peter, now, how infuriating and how heartbreaking it was to hear about the things that happened in Orlando. But the Washington Post came out with a report today that said the FBI has found no evidence that the Orlando shooter targeted Pulse because it was a gay club. Now, in a 911 call, the shooter allegedly he pledged allegiance to the Islamic State, but he did not make any homophobic comments. But the FBI director James Comey has said that he was radicalized and previously been the target of terrorism investigation, which I did hear that. Some people have maintained that they've had contact with him, though, through gay dating apps. Do you think that this could have been a case of internalized homophobia?
Well, first of all, we know from the shooter's own father and from former workmates that he had a very strong, intense homophobia. He made disparaging remarks about gay people, not once or twice, but on many different occasions. We also know that one of the tenets of Islamic State is almost, pathological hatred of gay people and a commitment that gay people should be put to death. We also know that he didn't target one of dozens of non-gay clubs in Orlando. He chose that particular club. So I think it is very wrong to suggest that there was no homophobic motive. Almost certainly the shooter was motivated by homophobia, among other things. Of course, he probably had a constellation of hatreds, but clearly this particular attack was targeted at the LGBT community. Now, in terms of his own sexuality, I think the evidence does suggest that he had quite serious problems about his own sexual orientation and sexual desires. We know that he had been on various gay dating apps and had been to that club on a number of occasions. That would suggest someone who had at least some interest or attraction to other men, and that he definitely would not have gone on those apps and gone to that club if he was not himself having some kind of internal struggle over his sexuality. We also know that there was a body of evidence that shows that people who are, or men who are gay and who cannot accept their gayness, will often use homophobia as a way of convincing themselves they're not gay. So, someone will, the logic in their minds will be, I hate gay people, or in this instance, I kill gay people, therefore I can't be gay. That's the sort of perverse logic that they use. There's also an element which we must consider, in that some people who embrace a radicalized Islam are doing so as a way to atone for what they see as the shame and guilt about their own homosexuality. And they reason that if they go out and kill gay people and become a martyr by dying themselves in the process, that this will atone for their own same-sex sins.
Yes.
It's a very perverse, very bizarre, twisted thinking, but some people actually believe that.
Yeah.
And I have spoken to Islamist extremists who have said, yes, this is correct, that if a Muslim gay person goes out and commits an act of martyrdom in defense and support of Islamic values, he will go straight to heaven. And that may well have been the motive of the gunman at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. He may have thought that by committing this ghastly, horrendous crime, by killing all these gay people, that he was somehow atoning for his own sins as someone who had same-sex desires and lusts, and at the same time make himself a martyr and ensure his place in heaven.
Yeah.
It's very sick. It's very disturbed. But some people actually believe this.
They do believe it.
I would just add the very important research by Professor Henry Adams at the University of Georgia in the United States. He did research which found that in the case of men who define themselves as 100% heterosexual, but who had strongly anti-gay views, that in 8 cases out of 10, they were themselves aroused by watching gay pornographic videos.
Wow.
Which indicated that their same-sex hatred was a mask for their deeply repressed, unacknowledged, and self-loathing same-sex desires.
Yeah, which goes back to the question, it has to, or is possibly, internalized homophobia. It's just... Absolutely. Yeah, it's just like, it brings me back to 9/11, when, the guys that committed that crime, and they said that, as soon as you die, you're going to go to heaven and get 27 virgins each.
Or whatever, whatever the number was,
Yeah, and so, that...
Well, if they read their Quran correctly, it says that good Muslim men will be rewarded in heaven with boys beautiful as pearls.
Oh, wow.
That's a bit the Islamist extremists never quote.
Right. Peter, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. We had Gay Pride last month in June. I don't know, is it Gay Pride in June for you in England?
It is, yeah.
Well, we, of course, went to the Pride Fest, and we saw lots of protesters, people screaming scriptures at us and telling us we're going to hell. Do you do anything personally? I will tell you, I've never gone up to a protester before, but I did this time, and I just said, you know what? Love wins. And you're not teaching love here. You're screaming hate. And I normally don't do things that way. I usually live and let live, but just the way they were screaming at quote-unquote my people that day, it just kind of got under my skin. Do you do anything personally when it comes to protesters, such as Gay Pride, or what do you do? Do you ignore them? I can't imagine you ignoring them.
In London, we do have every year a group of Christian extremists who picket Gay Pride. My strategy and my advice always to everyone is ignore them. They want attention. They want to engage with us. You'll never ever convince them. Just ignore them. Just look the other way.
Yeah.
That's the best policy. But of course, there are cases where religious extremists of any hue can be usefully engaged. Some people, their minds are not totally closed, and sometimes, in some circumstances, it may be appropriate to engage with them and to reason with them. It's a tough call, because when you're motivated by a religious dogma and by a particular fundamentalist interpretation of holy text dating back centuries or millennia, You're very unlikely to be persuaded by reason, compassion, or evidence, because you're wedded to a particular set of ideas that are set in stone.
Right.
And of course, many of the interpretations are fundamentally flawed. Christians claim to be followers of Jesus Christ, yet in the recorded biblical teachings of Jesus, he condemned many sins, but never once condemned homosexuality.
Yes.
In fact, he enjoined, us to love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yes.
To be our brothers and sisters' keeper. Discrimination is not a Christian value, or indeed it's not a religious value in any religious text. It's the opposite of the values of love and compassion, which lie at the core of the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and many other religious texts. So it's often based on a misinterpretation. And indeed, if you look at the Quran, the Islamic holy text, compared to the Old Testament, it is very mild when it comes to homosexuality. There is no explicit condemnation of homosexuality in the Quran. It does talk about it being wanton and senseless, but it's not a direct, explicit condemnation, and there's no punishment prescribed in the Quran. The Old Testament in Leviticus does talk about the punishment being death, but the Quran does not. So Muslim people or Islamic extremists, when they say that they take their anti-gay rants from the Quran, in particular when they say that gay people should be put to death, it's not in the Quran. It never has been. That they are misrepresenting the book that they claim to follow.
Right.
Absolutely. You know what? LGBT people have too often found themselves on the receiving end of a police baton. Do you see that police brutality against the LGBTQ community, has it gone up or down in your opinion?
Oh, in Britain, it's a thing of the past. I mean, the last occasions when we've had really bad police behavior against the LGBT community was well over 10 years ago, and even then that was a rare example. Really, the repression of the past is something that really ceased around about 1992, 93. So we are way beyond that era. And we now have the police marching in LGBT pride parades. We've had that for many years. We've now got LGBT liaison officers in most police forces in Britain. On the whole, LGBT community and police relations are very good.
Good.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
It really is. One final question, Peter. I was wanting to ask you about Miss Caitlyn Jenner. She clearly supports Donald Trump. And she's very opinionated about it, very open about it. Do you think that she hurts the cause for transgender community by supporting him?
Well, of course, Caitlyn has a long history of supporting the Republicans.
Yes.
Even when they were viciously, or they still are in many cases, viciously anti-gay and anti-trans. So to me, that's a big contradiction. How can a trans person with any self-respect support a party and a politician who has an appalling history when it comes to the human rights of LGBT people? It doesn't make sense.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Peter, this has been a great interview. We do appreciate your time. We wanted to give you a chance to tell people where they can find you and about your website and things like that.
Well, I have a small human rights foundation in my name, the Peter Tatchell Foundation, which is set up by friends and supporters to try and help the work I do. We do a mix of campaigning and advocacy. About 50% is on LGBT rights, and about 50% on other human rights issues like defending racial, religious and ethnic minorities, supporting free speech, challenging religious privilege, supporting the principles of democracy and civil liberties. About half of the work is UK-based in Britain, and about half is in support of democracy and human rights movements in other countries like Russia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Uganda, Nigeria, Jamaica, and so on. So you can find out more about the work we do by going to the website petertatchellfoundation.org. petertatchellfoundation.org. And if you want to, in the top right-hand corner of the homepage, there's a little button which says Join Us. Click on that. You can sign up to become part of our whole human rights community. And you can get our email bulletins every now and then, which keep you abreast of the campaigning work we do and advise and inform you about LGBT and other human rights abuses. And if you're feeling generous and are in a position to do so, of course, we're very honored and grateful if you can make a donation to help us carry on the work, because we're a bit on the edge, so we don't get any sort of government or foundation funding. We rely entirely on support from well-wishers. So well-wishers who can donate or support us in any way, that's really, really appreciated.
Absolutely.
Great. It's been wonderful talking to Mr. Tatchell.
Thank you so much, and best wishes to you and to all your listeners. I'll finish off with my motto: don't accept the world as it is, dream of what the world could be, and then help make it happen.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much. See you guys next time.
That's the end of our show. Don't you dare leave without going to iTunes to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Ciao, baby.